go ahead and call the meeting to order, and if you would, in just a second, we'll have a pledge to our flag and on the board. And prior to that, yes, those that have cell phones, if you would just do me a favor to check the ringer on that, please. Either silent, vibrate, your choice. And with that, we'll go ahead and stand for our pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Father, we thank you again for an opportunity to come together. Lord, I'm so grateful to live in a nation that has been blessed. We have our trials, we have our struggles these days. We're not completely united, Lord, but this is still the greatest country on earth, and I thank you so much for allowing me to be a citizen in this country. Lord, I want you to ask that you bless those that are here tonight. I appreciate their interest and their love for our county, and I pray for those that may be struggling physically, emotionally, financially. Lord, you know their needs. I pray especially now that you'll watch over us and guide us as we conduct the county's business, and that everything that we do, Lord, will be mindful and prayerful that it's pleasing to you. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. Amen. All right, now first item is just the approval of the minutes for the March 4th meeting. You're ready, I'll take a motion to approve them. Motion to approve, Chairman. I have a motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion or comments on those? All right, seeing none, Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
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 All right, thank you. Tonight we don't have any business involving guests or groups. There are multiple visitors. We move to the chairman's report. Each of you I've included it was an email. It was sent out late, and I apologize for that, but I decided to go ahead and make a copy and put it in front of you. And it has to do with a provision in our county policy to donate sick time that is accrued from one employee to another. The request tonight is to, on behalf of 3 of our department heads, we have 3 employees that have, and you have their information in the packet here. 3 employees that have undergone surgery in one form or another, and I've listed their need. This is in excess of 120 hours that is afforded by our policy. Anything beyond that 120 hours has to come before the Board of Commissioners for approval. And 2 of these individuals, as I say, are due to return here very soon. 1 tomorrow, as you can see there. So again, tonight I'm just asking for consideration as you see it for these 3. You can do it either individually, or you can make a motion, whatever your pleasure is on those 3 for additional time.
I make a motion to approve the request.
Okay, I have a motion, and understand I'll be adhering to the hour limit that is listed there. Certainly no more than what you see there. I have a motion to approve the requested time.
Second.
And a second. Is there any comment or discussion on that? Certainly entertain anything on that. All right, not seeing any. Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you. I'm sure they will appreciate that. All right, tonight, I've got Mr. Bruce Osbedo from the IDMDA. I've asked Bruce, he's going to kind of bring us up to date on some of the issues and going on with the Industrial Development Authority. So Bruce, if you would please, sir.
All right, you should each have a little commissioner's report. And what I brought, first thing I wanted to say is that for the Peoples in Quigley is working with us when it comes to the GRP, and we've brought on John Phillips, which works for Quigley, as the engineer that's going to be working with us, and we've given authority to go ahead and proceed. They have the time limits. We got some strict requirements that are coming in on trying to put together the storage for December 31st. So we're already starting to work on the line for that, and we're in the middle. The MOBs, they're reviewing the MOB that we had sent back to them already, so that took hours and hours to do. So we should hear something, hopefully here by this next week, on how that's going to go. But the big thing is we got to get this, the line underneath 72 across the CSX, and we got to get that tank in to supply at least 2 or 3 days. So we're negotiating right now on how big that tank's going to be. So John Phillips is going to be the engineer, which I think most of you know. John Phillips, really good guy. We've had a lot of meetings with him. The second thing is the idea of moving forward with the bond issue on restructuring the GFA loan that was pending your approval. And basically, I'm sure you guys read the paper or stuff, but we had Stifel actually give us a proposal. We met with them like 3 times so far, bond company, and it's taken our debt, broke it down, and what we wanted to do is that we have 12 loans over the history of all of this that we've done that added up to over $8 million, $8.7 million. But we have 4 of them that are either 0% or 2.1 and 2.31, which adds up to 3.6 million. Did not want to include that in the restructure at all. What we wanted to do is take the 8 that are above that percentage, and those are in the 3.7, 3.6, 4s, 5s, 5.05. The bond structures right now are down in the 3.25, 3.3, depends on when we get it approved. So with that in mind, we thought we would do like, businesses do out there and take a look at the structure and how we're going to free up money, because when all these lines were going up and we lost all those years in a recession, there was a certain amount of people that were expected to grow in the community and did not, so we kind of got stuck with there where it was just stable. So the idea is making it, but it's not very profitable. So really, you really can't do much with the industrial authority side, because as a contractor, the IDA has taken on the debt for the county to put water lines in, and doesn't leave much money at all for the industrial side. In fact, doesn't leave any. So what we've done is this little blue that you see down at the bottom right there, that is the debt that I don't want to restructure. And we don't want to restructure that at all, and just let that go and get paid off. The green is the $4.7 million that is above the 3%. I want to restructure that, and that restructure will bring our debt from an $800,000 a year debt structure that we pay every year down to $535,000. So it'll free up $265,000 or so, and of course, it depends on the interest rate, and when we get this done, it takes 45 to 90 days to get that done. That will free up about $20,000 to $22,000 a month. It's just good business sense. I mean, I do commercial loans on my own stuff, so we thought it was a good idea to take a look at this and see how we can better use the money that we have out there.
At what date is the first unrestructured loan paid off?
The first one that I remember being paid off is in about 2.5 years. And it's a smaller one. I think it was
pretty quick.
Huh?
Pretty quickly.
Yeah, that first one that would be paid off. And we looked at the idea of, some are going to be paid off in 10 years, some of them are going to be paid off in 15, because they're all 20-year type loans. And we had to make kind of like a decision on, in the situation that we're in right now with the tightness of money, we can't help people with water, we can't help people with replacement stuff. We just really can't help very much at all. We can pay the payment and the debt. So when I addressed it, it was either, to my point, is leave the zero and the real low interest ones, but we have high interest, 5, 4, and all that, and we're gonna bring it low. Let's refinance that now and increase cash. Now, that'll increase, you know, $20,000 to $22,000. Well, when we bring GRP in, we could be anywhere from 18 plus 10, another $28,000 with them on top of the 2022. So that really creates a lot of decent cash flow that we've never had before. That means we can put some money aside for capital improvements, things that people really need. And then I've instructed Steve Shaw to start looking at the plan of replacement for the ones that are coming up that have been in the ground a long time, the caps. We got to start looking at that. So we've been having meetings with companies to say, what kind of a program does it take for that? So we're kind of looking at a business, kind of like a business, you know. That's really what it is, and you need to look at that. So, and when you delve into this, you can do it a lot of different ways. You can cut the debt back down this way. But what I think is I think what we can end up doing long term is the idea to put some money in the capital funds. They can put some money in the industrial side and have some decent money coming in, especially when GRP gets going in. And then we can do like you should do is start making some debt payments. Just start making some debt payments, start paying that thing down, and then get it down so that we have some room. And at some point, the way the contract's set up, at the 10-year point, you guys can take it back. You can have us keep it for 50 years, but at least we'll have some money come in. I think the IDA, since this has started, has got himself in an interesting position because the public want the industrial authority to do something for the public on the business side. But instead of the county taking on the debt directly, we're the contractors, and the contractors took the debt on, which is kind of unusual. We're one of only the 2 or 3, I think, in the state that does it this way. So, and that's not a problem, but we needed to find a way to open up some cash, and this is the only way that I could see that we can open up some cash. So, what we would like to do, and I think they're going to address it tonight, is that we'd like the lawyers to draft up an intergovernmental agreement that guarantees the bondholders the debt payments that will be paid. So, in other words, if we don't make our payment on the IDA side, you guys will. And I'm estimating that if we free up $265,000, it should be, you know, $3,000 a month. You know, if we do it
for that, 3,000.
Yeah, it should be on 4.3 million. But here's what, and the attorney probably knows better than me, but we have G loans already, so we have county debt, except we're paying it. So if we default, I think it goes back to the state, and the state says, hey,
we're on the hook anyway.
you guys are going to do it anyway. So, and I like the idea of all of us know what's going on. We all work together, and which is been a great feeling.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Should be.
So those are my little charts. So that's that. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Can we get a copy of that chart?
Huh?
Can we get a copy of that?
Yeah, I got little notes on it, but we
I
got.
can make it available.
Yeah, in fact, you got a clean copy, don't you?
I can make it available.
Yeah, because we have this sheet also shows the debt structure and how it's broken up, because we didn't want to restructure all of it, and we didn't want to take on debt, we just wanted to do current debt. And no use doing all the debt, just do $4.something million of it, spread it out. It's not a big deal. So, I think that'll be pretty easy. I mean, we get to breathe a little bit. Yeah. Any questions on that at all?
Yeah, I got one. You're talking about hooking on the existing water line for the
What's that?
plant? Well, excuse me, I got signed. Are you talking about hooking on the existing water line to run under the thing for the plant right now?
Yeah, the way that's working with the GRP is what we're talking to them about. We sent them to them is that we'll do the design and the construction. They will give us the money to go under there. And they're
That's
gonna
just off of our existing water line. That's not coming new from everything, right?
that's not a new one. The first part is December 31st, they need a certain amount of water. It was originally October, now they're telling us December 31st, they need more water. So in order to get water off our existing line, we just come across with a 12-inch line, go under CSX, and then pop up to their, and we got water. We can supply the amount of water they need for the startup. They don't need the 1.2 million until June of next year. In April, they just need a certain amount of test water. So we'll have all that going by then. And then I don't want to, we're in the middle of G loans. I've done phase 1, phase 2, done all the applications. We got ARC grants. We're probably going to end up with about a $4.5 million Elberton line contract, unless it comes out a little higher. And we've applied for the One Georgia, the EDA, Economic Development, the ARC, and One Georgia grants. And those are for grant money, and that will come off the $4.5 million. So hopefully we get this thing down to a couple $1 million. And the contract that we have with Elberton is a really good price. A lot cheaper than Franklin and a lot less expensive than Commerce. So we're going to make some pretty decent profit off that.
When does it expire? How long do you have to?
It doesn't even start until I sign it.
Okay, the contract.
Yeah, I'm afraid to have to sign that thing right now because I'm not going to sign it until I know I got a G loan, because once I make that signature on there as the IDA chair, and they start, and they got their G loan ready, and they start, they're coming this way, which means we better have money to go that way and hook up, because we're going to be hooked up with about $7,000 a month in payment, you know.
How far are they from the county line now?
It wasn't that far, was it?
No,
I don't think it was that far.
Nah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a provision right now that exists contractually that they, from the time he signs it, they have 12 months to complete.
Right.
But, because of the distance and everything, they've assured us that could happen as short as half of that time.
Yeah, they told me they're thinking 4 to 6 months, they could do it easily, and then we'll be hooking up to them. And of course, we don't need ours really done up until, you know, closer to next year. June's when they need the water.
So ask this, while we're on that subject, how'd you come along with a contract with the Howard people for this water?
Who?
Do you have a contract with GRP?
Oh, GRP, yeah. They have, I've just finished, about a week and a half ago, I finished it's called the phase 2. I signed the phase 1, been working with Jordan at RDC, and, they've been dealing with them also. John Phillips also deals with them. I've had Matt, the accountant, myself, Steve, RDC, and, John Phillips all working on it, so there is absolutely, right at the moment, there's no more paperwork, no more requests for financial information or anything from GRP. I do not expect the original $8.5 million to be approved. Just don't expect it. That was the line that they voted, that the IDA voted for the Elberton line and the Franklin connection. We can't afford it. I don't want it. I think what we need to do is connect up the Elberton line, because we can reduce our costs off of the Commerce, which is quite expensive, and then even use the Elberton line and give us a little bit more money, so I'm expecting it to be just 4.5. We will never get approved by GFA for 8.3, 8.5.
That's not the question I asked you. Do you have a contract with GRP?
Oh, GRP.
They're gonna pay you the money for the water on a long-term basis.
I was actually addressing that earlier. That's in the MOU that we are working up right now. And what we have put in the MOU, and that was in the paper, I think, we asked for a bond payment, because we do not want to get stuck with any line being put in the ground without any type of guaranteed payment. So that is part of the MOU. The MOU, the memorandum of understanding, is coming first before the contract.
Before you start contracting to put water in the ground.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to have to move to Wyoming, so no, we're gonna, we'll make sure that's done. Any other questions?
You sit the horse before the cart now. There's a lot of money there.
I'm more afraid than you are. No more questions on that. So basically, the difference on the GFA is that it's part of the government type thing. It's already set up, but now we're dealing with a private company, so we have to have an intergovernmental agreement. So the actual motion, I think I gave you something, but I'm sure Mr. Pruitt probably has a better motion on that and on how he wants to handle this. Please talk to him. One more thing, that we have we're proceeding with the well rehab at Spratlin Pond, well to bring the new water source in. That one had gone down, and when I was reviewing the budget here the last month or so, we have a certain amount of water that we obligate $180,000 a year that we can buy water. And with that well down, we were buying more water from Commerce than originally planned. So it was like about a $90,000 cost for that well being down. So I got together with Steve and we were doing some calculations, and we can actually utilize within the water purchase budget that $90,000 to replace the equipment that's down on there, get that well back going again, and that will actually reduce about $10,000 a month that we're paying Commerce. And it'll pick up $8,000 a month in profit. So in other words, we're kind of looking at everything and seeing what's down, that sort of stuff, and seeing how we can make it work, because you cannot just keep letting things go down and, if wells go down. I'm also looking at the well over in Hall. That's probably going to be $30,000 to do something like that, so might have to put that off later, but we got to get all this stuff back fixed and going again. And I think if we do, it will bring us more into an operating cycle that we'll all be pleased about. Anything else? That's all. I can talk all night, but... Good?
One more thing. The water coming from Madison, that's purified, ready to drink water, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's ready to go. And I'm really excited about that, because if we hook that up, and I'm not too worried about that, because we can adjust where we're buying water in other places just to accommodate that one is that much less in our cost. So the contract we have with them is fantastic. It's just that I can't sign it until I got a GFA loan. If I got a GFA loan, that means I got a loan. And then when the loan comes through, then I'll call them and say, proceed. That's the only time I can do it. So.
But you're gonna get the contract from Powell April 1st.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I guarantee you. Yeah, we'll invite Zach over and he can watch me sign it. And we're trying to be as public as possible about this. We've even talked about our memorandum of understanding in the public this last time. We've had open finance meetings to the public so they can show up. We want everybody to see exactly what, because we want everything to, there's a lot of business things we can do to make it a lot better.
Is that a 12-inch line coming from Edward County? From Edward County?
Yeah, we want to run a 12-inch across. And the original permit that we had originally, when we were thinking about going across, was only an 8-inch line before. So we had to get the permit. The permit has to be redone to accommodate a 12-inch line. Right now,
With that plant using that much water, is it going to affect the pressure, water pressure of the people?
I'm glad you said that, because in the MOU, we actually put a provision in there that if they have a certain amount of pressure flux, that we have a way of being able to handle that. That was one of the things that we put back into the memorandum of understanding. The pond that we want them to put in, we would like a $3 million, don't know if we're going to get it, but that'll hold them in the peak periods of the summer for 3 days down. Yeah. And then we'll be able to put backflows and all that sort of stuff in there. But yeah, that provision is in there. It wasn't in the one they sent us, but it was in the one we sent back. The MOU that they sent us, the one we sent back, doesn't really look like the same MOU.
No. Any other questions or comments for Bruce?
Just seem to say so.
Thank you, Phil.
Yes, go ahead.
We're not really gonna vote to do the bond thing tonight, but us seeing all of that paperwork on it.
Well, there's an agenda item where the IDA will actually be the organization that issues the bond.
Yeah, you're just doing an agreement of support.
The item 7 on the agenda was to address the support of the Board of Commissioners for the IDA in issuing that.
If I may, Mr. Chair, I know we're kind of jumping ahead on the agenda here, but like Bruce said, I did talk to Stifel and also our bond lawyer, Jim Woodward, and I sort of put together the language, but this is basically what they told me, is that all you would be voting tonight, and this is your motion language, is to authorize drafting documents for the issuance of bonds by the IDA to refinance a portion of its debt, with those bonds to be backed by the full faith and credit of the Madison County Board of Commissioners, the documents to be brought back to the BOC for final approval. Correct. They just don't want to, they got a fair amount of work in getting, putting the numbers together and getting bond ratings, drafting the documents. and they didn't want to do all that unless they had in principle, an acknowledgement from the Board of Commissioners that they would back those bonds, because they're not marketable without y'all's backing.
But we'll come back to final approval.
That's
once we see
why I wrote that down.
Yeah, and that was presented by the gentleman that represented them, that this was a kind of a good faith gesture to allow them to proceed in good faith and acquire and put together that instrument, so that anywhere from 45 to 90 days, there would be a document that you actually have to vote on.
And I suspect that with us going through and freeing up the cash, that is gonna put us in a better credit worthiness on the GFAL, so frees up $22,000. So as soon as that's done, if it gets done, we can update the financial status on that and get it back to them. Because we already know we've had prior approval for $1.5 million, so if we get enough grants to bring it down to $1.5 million, that's already a given, but we're probably closer to 2. And then I think you guys are gonna be talking about Jeff tonight. They've got another replacement. Everybody, keeps becoming commissioners. Yeah. And from the IDA's perspective, we've talked to him, we've seen him, he's been showing up at all of our meetings. The way this works, all IDA personnel go through the commissioner. So if you guys got a stack of them, you can talk to them all. If you don't, we have one that is interested in it.
Cheap shot.
Oh, yeah, no, that's huge. Run for office.
All right, thank you, Bruce. All right, we're down to the portion of our agenda where we take statements and remarks from citizens on any agenda item. That's items 6 through 11. So if there's anybody here that would like to speak on any one of these items, we'll entertain. What I've got is certainly not new, it's been here longer than I have, but there's a light up to your right, and we're going to try it tonight. We'll see how it works, I don't know. And our constitutional bylaws, they were set up to suggest, and it's actually language in there that talks about, trying to limit the time that people have, and it's an attempt to give everybody an opportunity to speak, so that nobody monopolizes. But I'd like to ask that anybody, you're welcome to speak on any of these items, and what I will do is, and if I'm able to do it, if I make good, starts out green. If you see the yellow light, that just means speed up a little bit, because you have about a minute left. And then at the expiration of that, it'll be a red light, and that's a total of 30 minutes, and we'll try to be as accommodating as possible, but we'll ask you to keep up with that if you can. So with that, if anybody's got anything they want to talk about, I'd like you to approach the podium and let us know who you are and address, and then speak what's on your mind about these items. Does anybody like to speak?
I'll be first.
All right.
That's my name's Brett Smith, resident in Madison County. That his signatures from a lot of citizens in the area of Vineyards Creek, a couple of mayors from the county, some fire and rescue personnel that all would like to see the M&S Lane Road go all the way through and be kept up by the county as it's supposed to have been for years past. I've got several of the landowners that have asked me to speak that actually own the land on the road that the letters were sent to, and the main question that I've got for y'all is this large amount of money that has been told people that's going to cost to keep the road up, and I've heard it mentioned several times to DOT standards. And I still haven't got an answer as to why that would be when several roads that, most of the roads that are county roads are not to that, and that's the paved ones too. There's been some bridges that washed out in the past couple of years, and there was no box culvert that was put back in, a pipe, and the county come in. Those are roads right here in Danielsville. My hope is that you'll agree to not abandon any portion of the M&S line. And I don't think that I'm alone, as these signatures show with the affidavit. Y'all have any questions for me? I think y'all know my stance on it. There's some other landowners, hopefully, that are here that'll...
Who are the ones that ask you to speak for them?
Well, I've 15 of those signatures right there I got. The rest of them were taken from the people that live right there around Vineyards Creek. So that's not really even my work right there. Those signatures, like I say, 15, and that's most of my family.
I got a question for the attorney. Is it, in abandoning a road, is it a requirement that all landowners be unanimous in the decision to close it or to leave it open?
It's not a requirement that everybody be unanimous, but what you gotta compare it back to is your standard. Has the road ceased to be used so that it no longer serves a public purpose? And one of the factors you weigh against that is cost of maintaining it, not the only factor. Because if anybody wants to push the issue, and they don't have to, but if somebody wants to push the issue, it's true the county does have a duty either to abandon the road if it's not being used and it's not economically viable to keep it open, or to maintain it. Now, Mr. Smith's right, there's nothing that I know of that says it has to be maintained to DOT standards necessarily. Again, if somebody on that road wants to force the issue, they can make you, they can go to court and force you to that decision.
But you say that if the road does not, I don't remember the words you used to
Cease to be used to the extent that it no longer serves a public purpose.
But what if it's already...
Well, this would be more appropriate when the item actually comes up. This is time for people to speak.
I was gonna say, there is a chance, there's an item where it's our first, item of old business agenda item that we will address that, so.
Okay.
I think this discussion
Yeah,
is more appropriate
yeah.
then.
It would be.
Let people come up and speak if they need to.
That would be more appropriate.
Okay. All right, well, thank you, Brad.
Yes, I'm Dennis Wood, and I live in the Vineyards Creek community. And as far as I know, I don't see any reason to spend money on a road that's been abandoned for, somebody said 41 years, but I know it's been longer than that. I mean, I drove down that road when I was 13, to give you some kind of idea how old I am. But for a road that's been abandoned for that long, I see no reason to spend money when we could be using it somewhere else on improving other roads, I mean, 41 years is a long time, So that's just my opinion on it. And I know that some of my family signed a petition, but I also called and tried to get in touch with, I think my wife tried to call you, Debbie Wood.
I didn't get a call.
Well, I called you, but you don't have an email, and I don't know anything about an email. So I don't know how to work one. So anyway, my family over that way would like their names taken off the list, So they're opposed to it. Okay.
I'm sorry, I never got a call. I'm sorry.
Debbie Wood, she's secretary at Como Elementary.
Okay. I never,
No, okay.
She never called.
She said you tried to email you twice to get our names taken off the list.
oh, was it today?
No, it was Saturday and Sunday.
My school address or my, Okay.
I know nothing about these,
I never-
I cannot tell you nothing about.
I'm pretty responsive, I haven't seen it, so
I
I'll.
still have trouble talking on the phone.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry, to say I know nothing about it, but that's just my position.
Okay.
My name's Karen Welchland, my husband Lee Welchland, we live on the other end of the road, of M&S Lane. I didn't know it had a name, because I've never seen a sign there. We're just very, concerned with, when we go down and sit on the dock at night, sometimes it's 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning, we're just sitting back and enjoying nature, and you hear a vehicle pull down in there. And you just wonder, what in the world is somebody doing down there, cutting the vehicle off at that time of night? And technically, it's a public road, so we don't have the right to approach them or ask them what's going on. And it's just unnerving to know that they're down there and there's nothing you can do about it. Also, there's been poachers come down there many times. Our neighbor has had them caught on camera on his property next to us, just get out and go hunting. We had another poacher come along and they shot the neighbor's 13-year-old lab. I believe the dog was that age, right in front of them, and it could have been her. And they chased them back through the woods to the truck that was parked on that property. We're just really concerned about those things.
And we're just concerned with, if the road is open, it's just gonna create more problems up and down through there. I just don't see the county, you know, it's a cut and dry case to me. To spend all that money on something that's been shut down 41 years. Nobody needs it. It's no need. The fire department don't need it. If they come in from Vineyards Creek, they're gonna go down Dallas Lake. They're not gonna come all the way to our community to go down a dirt road. There's no way. And just my neighbor, Arturo, he opposes it too. He just wanted me to let you know that.
Did you give me the sign?
Yeah, he can speak it right here.
And you live on, Benny's Creek?
No, I don't live there, I just own the property.
On the property, okay.
Yeah, see, we own both sides at the road,
Right.
and he owns on down toward the creek on both sides.
Good, okay.
And, we're concerned there, I got some cameras with my deers, you know, where I feed them, and, there's people been there at 1 in the morning, 5 in the morning. And I'm afraid, you know, they're gonna go grow something that is not legal in there, and then we'll get blamed for it.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Norma Toad. I live on Cherokee Road, and my property goes back and joins Lee's property where he's building the house. And I've lived in Comer most of my life, and I never knew that road had a name. So I just think it should be closed for there and everybody else's benefit. So it's gonna cost money to pave it if they you know, make it a county road. And what's down there except their house. And I think it should be closed.
Okay.
And I'm Beth Harmon, I'm her daughter, and I live behind her, and she also has more acreage behind me,
That's what I'm...
which backs up to Lee and Karen's property. And as they were saying, poachers, we've got people running all over the place down there. I hear shots all times of the night and day, and nobody's supposed to be down there. There's 20 acres behind me. And then on the other side is my uncle's property, which is 75 acres, the M&S Lane, the church, our property, my uncle's property. All back in there, if they go down that road, there's nowhere they can go, you know. I don't feel safe with her there by herself, you know, with people running around. We've had manhunts back there. There's no school buses that come up and down through there, and I just think it's a waste of taxpayers' money to open the road back and have it maintained by the county.
It'll be, Lee and Karen's driveway. That's what I feel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Lamar Lawson. I rode the piece of property at Lee's request. He came in the office the first of the year. Actually, I was talking to John, he came in, rode it, took pictures and everything, in the course of some of the mobile home stuff. People dumping trash down there, didn't mention that. And all the old log loading sites between Arturo's place and theirs, you got kids, people parking, four-wheelers, you know, everything you can think of down there. Folks are hunting it, there was evidence of all of that. But I went as deep in there as I could in my Jeep, and I couldn't get anywhere close to the creek. You know, I mean, I have no idea how much it would cost to develop that end on the Cherokee Road side, but it would probably be pretty substantial. But everything they told us pretty much what's there. You know, it's pretty rough in there. And if Lee is able to close it, it's going to put a serious crimp in a whole lot of people's illegal activity. Appreciate it, Mark.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
It's not a matter, I'm Carolyn Smith, I'm Brett's mother. It's not a matter of closing it, because since 2002, we've gone through the law, and they've proved that it is a county road. So it's not a matter of whether it's a county road, just close it off. You know what I'm saying? Because the Board of Commissioners agreed it was a county road, and it was supposed to be upgraded. Nobody's been down there yet. That's part of the problem. Is, you know, the county don't go down there and work on it. They're supposed to, but they haven't yet. It was put on top of the agenda last week, you said. You put it on the top of the agenda to get somebody to go down there and work on the road. And did they go down there?
No, not on the portion that's subject to the abandonment process. I mean,
But the reason there's people down there is because there's not a county road. If it was a county road, there wouldn't be so many people trying to get off down there. I mean, there's not that many people where there's a county road. I was thinking, we started back, like I said, in 2000, trying to get this so he could get some houses. If the road was there, then he could build houses, and then there would be a place for the school buses and the whatever to go. He needs it to build some houses down there, and then there will be children. And he was promised by the Board of Commissioners that they would do this years ago. And we've had to come and fight this and fight this and fight this. And it's just not fair. I mean, I know these people don't want poachers and stuff like that down there. Neither do we. That's the reason we want a county road, so he can build a house, and then it'd be just neighbors instead of poachers. You know what I'm saying? Houses with people and children, just like they got. And I think it's fair for him to get what he was promised years ago, and at least get down to the creek and do a culvert or whatever. You said last meeting that the county had $500,000 granted money for roads that had not been allocated. Take $100,000 of that and fix it. Because you did say that in the last meeting, it's in the minutes. So,
it was actually all system safety money, and it can only be used for items that DOT approves. So, I mean, you know, if I said anything that misled you on that, then I apologize.
Oh, yeah, you said there was $500,000
True.
that had been granted that was not allocated.
Right.
Allocate some of that to it.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right. We're going to go on to the next item of business at this point then, which, interestingly enough, is to consider abandoning a portion of M&S Lane. And at our last meeting, the decision, or I'm sorry, not our last, but the meeting before last, the decision was made to postpone that pending, perhaps some information, regarding cost estimates and things of that nature. And I think, the commissioners have a kind of a breakdown of some of the costs that our road superintendent put together. We actually had a basin study done by Mr. Phil Monroe, an engineer. And so these are some of the basic costs now, to the extent that they get in there and start doing some of the work. And some of these are very hard to determine exactly what, you know, how many loads of dirt, how much, you know, gravel or whatever. But you see, there's a cost associated if we contract for trucks to haul. There's a $520 fee that we pay currently if we contract with a truck per day to haul, and that doesn't include the gravel and dirt or whatever. You've got different options up there as far as the whether it's a pipe or a box culvert, and then some of the costs associated with using a crane to bring in some of the bigger pieces to actually place those. So, we've heard all the discussion and the comments and everything, and I'll, if we want to take a motion and get into discussion, I'll
Chairman, I've got a motion for you. I'd like to make a motion that we abandon the portion of M&S Lane.
Okay, and just so people are clear, the language on that was from...
Not tell me with the motion.
Right, it was a vineyards, and I should have been, it was to abandon that portion of M.S. Lane is defined as, at the beginning at Vineyards Creek, what was previously called County Road 316, Old M.S. Lane, and perhaps in another place, Old Paoli Road. But it's at, the origin is at Vineyards Creek. It travels east to northeast up to a point that is 150 feet short of the northernmost parcel of Mr. Brett Smith's property, and that grants 150 feet of access on that road to the north side of the property. So, in essence, what that would do is make available the eastern portion of M&S Lane available to access the property. So that's the, so we have that motion. Is there a second to that?
I'll second. Any discussion?
All right. So now, is there any comments or discussion regarding this?
I've got a question. We're not taking away anybody's ingress of their property. Is that correct?
No, as a matter of fact, nobody at this point, nobody to my knowledge, and our attorney has investigated all the parcels and the owners of those parcels that are adjacent to M&S Lane, any of the aforementioned names of that. And the only property that would have been landlocked, should we continue all the way up on M&S Lane, would have been I believe 49 acres that Brett Smith owns. But again,
in 2004, I believe it was 2004, it came in front of here to be abandoned then, and I believe it was because they didn't abandon it then because Mr. Smith was gonna build houses, is that correct?
2002.
2002, okay, 2002, so it's been 16 years instead of 14, I was thinking it was 14.
How much money have they spent on it to keep it up since then?
This is the business part of the meeting here, and I appreciate this stays behind the table.
I can't speak about it.
Okay.
Well done. If this passes, is this something we can jump on pretty quick?
As far as
getting the road in shape on the other side?
It is, and I've already gotten with our road superintendent, and we've been on that road several times, and he has made arrangements to go ahead and start a fair amount of dirt's going to have to be brought in, whether it's brought in or moved from property or surrounding area down there to build up the road bed. There's a lot of bedrock down there that has to be accounted for, so.
It is, I've been down there.
I drove that part the other day, as far as I could. I've been on the other side too. Mr. Wood was kind enough to show me around. on the other side when I was when we were riding in a golf cart. And there is a lot of trash, tires and trash where people have left stuff, and there was a gunshot that went off, well, which made me very uncomfortable from that area as well.
You say if the road no longer is considered in use, would it be, what about the people that are thinking about building homes down there? That would be on the abandoned.
Well, I think you're just debating the motion now. It's either...
Oh, I thought are we in discussion?
Yeah.
And that's always, I mean, and I appreciate the issue is always, you know, what somebody hopes to do with property, somebody hopes to do in the future. It's difficult the only things that are factual right now are what is afforded and what is allowed or what is permissible. And we know that we can't landlock anybody's property, and we're not going to do that. So we're not, and it is not landlocked. If there's 150, according to the state law, if it's afforded 150 feet of open access to a county road, then it can be divided, it can be subdivided, and, you know, with anybody's property, the ownership of it, you know, whether you do something in a year or 10 years, that's certainly your choice, to hold property, do whatever you want to do. And I wouldn't find fault with somebody who wants to just keep land raw. But again, the issue here is what somebody may want to do. I don't think anybody is restricted by this action at all on any of the provisions of their property, though.
Would it be permissible if some of the property owners have equipment to do the road work? Would it be permissible, they'd be in a county road, would it be permissible for them to work on the road? Would it be in a county road?
It's just the county's property, the county would have to give permission for that.
That's one, yeah, but with the liability or anything, we'd be responsible.
Yeah, I mean, I've never heard of that being done. Liability would be one concern. Work, you know, how do you guarantee the workmanship would be another. Something to think through. I guess it's theoretically possible.
And Mike, too, I know, I talked to Mr. Kenneth Lewis today, and they talked about leaving one side, leaving it all county road and fixing one side and leaving the other until we had the money to do it. I mean, because all this comes down to finances. We don't have money to do it. But that was, you know, what I understand by liability to the county.
Well, that's right. That's what I said. You know, landowners on that road can force you to either abandon it or fix it. They can't necessarily dictate which one you do. If you just, you know, with a bridge out, if you just put up a road closed sign, hopefully people don't drive down that road and fall off in the creek at night, but maybe they do. So it's a concern.
I don't think that'd be a problem for Sam Bruce Road like that for 2 or 3 years. We had a bridge out down there, and the creek was 10 times bigger than the one over on there.
That's a big creek over there.
Yeah, Hannah's Creek.
Any other comment or discussion on that?
We've had the money in the past, but we don't have it right now.
Yeah, that's all it comes down to.
It's up to city.
Any other?
But I would like to make sure we get them a good road going in there as quick as we can.
I agree. Any other?
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that comment. That's the only reason. So, does it make sense?
Oh, money.
Yeah.
I'll allow you to disagree with me.
Thank you.
All right, well, with that, I have a motion and a second to consider abandoning the portion that was described before of M&S Lane. Hearing no other questions or discussion, we'll go ahead and start with a vote. Commissioner Bettis?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 All right, the next item, we're into the new business, and this is, again, the language that the county attorney read before with respect to the approval of the Industrial Development and Building Authority bond issuance. Again, it's not to approve the issuing of the bond, but to address the, yes, and I can read it, and this is, and again,
I wrote it by hand.
well, and I understood from, the company that's handling the bond that, this was this is kind of standard for them. Before they expend any effort and resources in this, they have to have a vote of confidence from the county in this regard. So the motion in this case, though, would be to authorize drafting documents for issuance of bonds by the IDA to refinance portion of its debt. And you heard the portion that the chairman mentioned before, with these bonds to be backed by the full faith and credit of the Madison County Board of Commissioners. The documents to be brought back to the Board of Commissioners for final approval.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
I just got one little quick statement. And that's that, the county will be responsible for the existing debt. There's a chance that it wouldn't be.
And we've had this discussion, and I'll refer to Mike on this, because you're right, there's another mechanism by which the finances could be recovered, or the money could be recovered, but.
Yeah, and it's probably not, nobody's researched it to the nth degree to make sure, but I've talked to a couple of folks about it. I suppose the worst case scenario could be that the IDA reached a point that it could no longer make the debt payments, the loans were foreclosed, the water system would just become defunct, and the IDA would have to pay the loans back out of its, what, 2 mils per year max that you're allowed to collect.
I just didn't want to raise the taxes, so.
Right, yeah, I mean, they could force you to raise it to the 2 mils so you can pay off loans on the water system that's no longer functioning. And then the county, technically you would have nothing more in it than the IDA's maximum millage capacity. You also wouldn't have an operating water system.
But, point being is that they couldn't come in and collect $8.9 million from the county, kaboom.
Right.
And that's been stated so many times that if they don't, it'll fall back on the county. Technically, it doesn't have to.
That is a good point.
But we don't want the water system to go let up.
Right. Any other comment?
Bruce, you think this'll free up some money for some GO bonds maybe, or something like that? Maybe do some general
Well,
obligation type stuff too?
We're actually making payments right now, like $66,000 a month. We're just freeing up $22,000 of partial debt that increases, so the chances of not making the payment is drastically reduced by redoing it. You have a better chance of losing everything by not doing it, but people don't log on, so it's
Good cash flow decision. But if you do the bond thing, it is the county's.
Correct. The county is the
This
co-signer.
board and all the taxpayers.
For the bond amount.
Right. Yeah. Right.
It's all taxpayers anyway, it's not ours. We're just five taxpayers.
Any other discussion on that? All right, so the motion is to approve the language we just described, backing the Industrial Development Building Authority bond issuance. The vote is to Commissioner Peffel.
Yes.
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 But for the motion will be in the minutes, right, Rob? Thank you.
All right, next item is consider new bylaws for the Senior Center Advisory Council. And many of you may not be aware that there is a Senior Center Advisory Council. There's an independent body that works, and their true value is that they're able to do things, procure things that the Senior Center cannot do themselves. They're eligible for grants and different things outside of what our Senior Center can normally do on their own. They've reached a point where their bylaws were dated, and many of the tenants, I think, were just not practical. So these were written and revised again, last month, and you have a copy of them and everything. And, again, this contract, these bylaws basically outline what they will do, you know, within the scope of their service to Madison County.
I make a motion we approve the bylaws for the, Senior Center Advisory Council. I'm told that would be a good idea if we did it.
Yeah. Yeah, so the motion to approve the bylaws, is there a second?
Second.
And a second. Is there any discussion on this? I met with these folks about 4 times, and I can tell you that they were very intent on it. And they elected all new officers, and, so they're trying their best now to be productive for on behalf of the seniors in the county there. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on this? Okay, Commissioner Easko?
Yes.
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 All right. Next item is to consider appointing Jeff Doty with the recommendation of the IDBA to fill a vacant position. It was a recommendation only from them, so I'll entertain a motion. Would you see fit on that?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Is there a discussion on that?
Discussion.
Please.
Since this is, number bed, and by the way, I don't know Jeff, nothing against him, he may be the best person for this job. But since we've been kind of promoting that when, positions on these boards come vacant, that we have the responsibility for filling, I thought we was gonna advertise to the general public and let them kind of tell us what they'd like to be on there, and then pick from that group.
Well, I'm aware that on our county website and through the local papers, as we're required to do, we announce those that are known to be up for, you know, whether it's to vote to keep them in place, or if they've got planned, you know, term or whatever. But in this case, this opening was created by a relatively sudden departure from Mr. Gary Burdett, stepped down. And there are a number of people that I think that Bruce and some of the other board members are aware of and did consider and did talk to. I don't think the fact that they brought the one name does not reflect that that's the only person they talked to, but I take your point.
But why would we get those names and have them for our consideration? This is our appointee.
I don't know, this came out a week ago. If I were having a vote on it, and if I was interested, I would have asked for that. That's what I would have done. If you don't, you know, if there had been any,
I talked to you about it for about an hour.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I shared with you that he was a recommendation, and I shared with you if there's somebody else, please bring that though. Because I think your point to me is that this board actually appoints those members, and I agree 100%.
But we're appointing people that the IDA board selects.
That they recommend.
If we vote to.
If you agree. Or if you don't agree, until you agree on a different name, that person will be in the office.
I've known Jeff for a long time. He's a ball of energy. He's a smart guy.
I don't know if he just.
Well, no, I'm just telling you about him. You said you didn't know him. He's part owner in Joe Mayer over here. He was with George Powell. He did energy audits for years. He's, like I said, he's an intellectual guy. Good moral compass. I don't know, he said something to me about it a long time ago.
Yeah,
Before, you know, I guess they got to John or whoever before I said anything about it, but, he's a firecracker.
He is. He's very, very involved in the community too. He's, I think he's Rotary and Chamber, he's all kinds of stuff. So he's a good guy. I like Jeff. I think he'd be good for that position. I had a couple in mind if they didn't want to do it. And I let the IDA board know of those people too. So they would know, you know, from me, who I had an idea about too, but they decided they didn't want to do it.
I just thought since it was a board of commissioners appointee, that we should have input on who all was named put forward, not the IDA picking that person to be on that board.
We did the same thing with, Josh Chandler. You know, it was brought up the same way with him, you know, to fill that
I know we
position.
appointed two without going to the public, and I just thought I'd speak up.
Well, I don't know if it's not going to the public, though, Mr. Jim. I mean, you know, it's in the paper and all that stuff. I don't know. You know, that's just, I'm not trying to argue with you. I just, my point of view. My point of view, you know, I just
had an opinion on that.
No, I understand
that. I think it was well taken, and I say, you know, there's room for that and maybe moving.
But he is a good guy, he's a good choice. Sure.
If moving forward, if the board will, instruct me, or if you'll let me know how you want it handled, that's the way I'll bring them. Or if you have names, I think it's important to know not to leave that position. It's been open for couple of months now, and sometimes it handcuffs them when they have to deal with having a quorum present.
I think it's important to fill that one, but I think it's important to fill the chairman position over there too.
The director, yeah.
The director. Some real urgency about that though.
How long has Bruce volunteered to keep going like he is?
I don't know that I've heard of time. He by default as the chairman, as the longest tenured member on that board, has taken that. So,
Bruce is smart though.
I think they want to look at too, is it might not be just a one-person position anymore, you know, they want to look at it and see how we can do it better. So it might not just be one person doing that, it could be a group of people, it could be, you know, there's several options up there. They're very open about it. You know, I talked to Bruce a good bit, make sure I know what's going on over there. And they see what they're working hard.
A good group.
Trying to move in the right direction.
Any other discussion or comments on that? Got a motion and a second to approve Jeff Dillard. That's where we are right now. Hearing no other discussion, I'll ask for, it'll go to Commissioner Allen.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, next item is to consider adopting Hope Drive.
All right.
Now, Hope Drive was one of the 5 private drives that were presented a few months back for consideration, and the board voted to initiate that. We now have all right-of-way deeds, and they're all filed. So, and as a matter of fact, the road department was over on Hope Drive working today. So, to assist our planning and zoning administrator, she has a request from the, I believe it's DOT. They would like to see that that we formally adopted it. So this is really a formality. You know, the deeds have been filed and recorded, just to make it a matter of record. Consider that. Anybody take a motion to actually adopt Hope Drive?
I would be more than glad to make a motion and hope it passes this time.
I'll second that.
Let's do it quick then. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Jim, how many people live on that road? 15 families, I guess, 14 families? Okay. All right, sure. I'm voting yes, don't worry about it.
All right. So I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Commissioner Strickland?
Yes.
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 All right.
Thank the Lord.
There you go. Well,
About time, huh?
you can tell the gentleman over there we appreciate his persistence too. I don't know, I can't recall his name, but.
I tell you what, he had to go through a lot to get him done the first time and then got turned down. Then
All right,
had to go
we got
back
it
there.
passed.
We got it done this year.
All right, this next one is, to consider abandoning, this is the initial part of this now, but consider abandoning a portion of Berkeley Road. Berkeley Road is in the southeasternmost tip of the county. It leads into a quarry. The property owner owns this tract, which is approximately 330 acres, but it's actually a combined tract into Elbert County of about 500 and some odd acres. He's requested, because the road terminates on his property, and it leads right directly to a quarry that has approximately 200-foot drop-off, that, to limit his liability, he is requesting that, the county, abandon that portion that's on his property. It is a dead end, and, allow him to fence that off to limit the intrusion on that property.
So it's gonna stay on just across the railroad track.
It is. He's asking, and, we've been out there, Alan, went out. So the trestle, the CSX trestle, and Berkeley Road form the intersection. He's requesting, and what we did to ensure he had the right of way was to come off of that intersection, basically the abutment of the, bridge, 80 feet to the southeast, and from there to the end of the road. And I tried to provide language that basically talks about, the vote would be to abandon a third of a mile. That whole third of a mile is on that single tract of land owned by this individual, or it's a group of 3 individuals, but, that is the discussion here, so.
You ready for the motion?
I am ready, sir.
I make the motion that we abandon that portion of Berkeley Road.
Okay.
Second.
Do I need to include that, I'm sorry?
Yeah, actually, well, I mean, it's, even though it's just this odd thing, I mean, nobody else owns land there, we still have to do the public hearing and
Right,
that.
so this is the initiating.
So we need the preliminary determination that it ceased to be used by the public so that it no longer serves the public purpose, and authorize the county attorney to, proceed with that, and, proceed with the,
Mr. Pepper, you have that?
oh, there it is. Yeah.
Now, did those come up way back, well,
On the road, on the same road?
I think it came up
Really?
pretty while back. I don't know what the outcome was on it, it needs to be done, but.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, this property looks like it changed ownership in December of 16.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was before that.
It might have been right before I got elected.
Sonny Dinsmore owned it.
It was Sonny Dinsmore.
I remember it coming up, and discussed, it was gonna get done, and it just,
Can't imagine why it wouldn't have been done.
It's not a crime scene down there.
Right. So the motion would be to allow the county attorney to, initiate proceedings to determine the utility and whether the county, it is still of use to the, public in Madison County.
John's got the language there, I think.
There you go. Is that, now is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, is that your motion there?
Yes.
John? Okay. So I have a motion, to initiate the amendment of that portion of Berkeley Road from a point 80 feet southeast to the CSX bridge/trestle abutment to the east and southeasternmost end of the road. That basically encompasses that third of a mile. So I have that motion,
And that's my second, too.
and I have a second to that. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. I forget where we stopped last time. I believe it's Commissioner Strickland. Oh, Commissioner
Yes.
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 Do we plan to put up some concrete barriers or something? He has had gates there before, and they just tear the gates down and going in, and
He has said that with the go-ahead and with the abandonment of it, he plans to construct a fence that's not common to this area.
which that's what I was saying, somebody allowed him to put gates up there before, and if it's a public road, you can't put gates up.
Well, exactly, and yes,
They came before the commission at one time and was allowed.
and I think that was his frustration, and again, I plead ignorance to whenever that happened before, but, I did share with them to hold off until this was a done deal on that, so, all right. Next item, roads update, any updates to roads?
Chairman, I'll be real quick, just get it on record. We got, the intersection of East Commerce and 106 that was discussed at one of the last zoning issues we had. I've got, with your help, I've got EDOT doing, traffic safety surveys. I had a meeting with, Carnesville, Director Mr. Robert Simpson.
Me and him had a meeting out there 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, something like that, to discuss what we could do there. He's gonna, be getting with their, quick response board in hopes to getting, the funds to get that fixed. And by fixed, I mean, cut those roads to where they go into a 90-degree angle, so you can see both ways, take care of the dangerous intersections on both sides of 106 is what he wants to do. They've got, I have a problem with 4 power poles in the right-of-way over there, and that's not supposed to happen, so they're gonna move the power poles over to where we would need them, and then hopefully we can get that as funds to turn those, turn East Commerce, and it will be, East Diamond Hill Road, turn those to 90 degree, and he said even, he was gonna try to get a caution light there as well. So, things can be done if we push hard enough. So, at least I got it going in that direction. I just wanted to update my citizens.
Very good. And, really, if you're not familiar with the quick, response, notion that he mentioned, at the intersection of Highway 29 and Moons Grove Road, during this past year, they completed a stretch of pavement to address, a potential,
They call it a go-around lane.
Yeah, and then they subsequently came out and extended it, which was a really good thing, because that was an even worse spot, I think, than it was before, but, that is just highlighting something, and their response was, they fast track it, they don't go through their normal system, so it's an expedited process. Any other updates?
Do you plan to ride with Alan this week?
I do.
What, if you will, if y'all are in that area up in the Harrison community, Brown Hendricks Road, I was through that Saturday, and crossing that creek, it's almost impassable.
Have any of y'all been down this road that he's mentioned?
Up the hill.
There's water that comes across at the low spot, and then it starts to climb back up.
And there's a ditch right in the middle of the road now, it's washed out.
What's it called, Brown?
Hendricks.
It goes into, Sam Bridge Road and comes out on Cheek Point.
Yes. That's where Linda Paulson's family is.
Yeah, I'll definitely look at that.
She's a Hendricks.
Yeah. Okay. Any other?
Kellogg Drive. Have y'all been down through there?
I have.
It's about all, potholes are connected.
So you're saying it's about to smooth itself out?
Yeah.
There's one other thing, if you will. Old Harrison School Road, I've got a dozen complaints from the egg man.
Okay.
Coming through there, and he says he has to creep through there, keep breaking his eggs after he loads them.
Okay.
So many potholes.
Yeah.
Oh, was it?
Hold up.
Okay.
I've already talked to him about Musket Ridge.
Oh, Lordy. Get on that. Musket Ridge, and then we had, I can't remember the name of the other one that's washing out there, when you mentioned, some brook,
Millbrook.
Millbrook, that's it. Okay, and then the other thing, Commissioner Misko and I talked about Highway 72, the new bypass is tentatively scheduled to be open at the end of April. And, Alan spoke with them to determine the effort that would then be put on the old Highway 72, and it was part of a contract, I believe, to resurface before they transfer that back to the county. So that should be taking, and then Highway 172, the full length of that, is to be resurfaced starting, perhaps next month. So, again, several very good, updates on those roads. That's pretty good news on that.
What did you say was fixing to be resurfaced?
172,
Oh.
from 72 to the county line.
Have you heard anything from DOT on when they plan to raise the bridge on the Tresco Road?
I have, not on Transco, what's the next one? Old Wildcat Bridge.
Oh, Wildcat.
Old Wildcat, so that was the first one. Transco, I believe, was,
It's to go just like it is.
okay,
I think it's next year and planned for next
Okay.
year, I think.
so, yeah, so it's the second one. I know they.
Come on in and sit down, Heather.
I got volleyball practice in the
Yeah. All right, is there any other, road? Okay. Any urgent matters? No? All right, statements and remarks from citizens. This is, on any item.
Thank y'all for letting me have the opportunity. My name is Bill Madden. I think all of you know me, but it brings back a lot of good memories.
It does?
It's past my bedtime, so I try not to stay here long. Mr. Chairman and members of the board, I appreciate the opportunity to be here and appreciate you serving on the board. I have talked to the chairman and several of the commissioners about my concerns about Fowler Freeman Lane. It's been maintained by the county for 32 years, going on 33 years, and now I'm told that it's a private road and that it's will not be maintained anymore. Mr. Carver and I talked about the fact that the expense and this the financial situation that the county was in, and I can't really see how a road just a little over 1/10 of a mile is going to solve your financial problems. But there's one thing that I've noticed and I haven't paid much attention to, and I would like to ask the board to clarify this for me. But I rode Bergman's Drive this afternoon, and I rode through Stowe Henry Road one day this week, and I understand the Seal Draper Road, and I see dirt roads that are gravel from ditch to ditch. You can't even see a spot of dirt on them anywhere. It would cost a fortune to maintain dirt roads in that fashion, and is that the desire, is that what the board is asking the road superintendent to do, or is that just his idea about how to maintain a dirt road?
Well, no, this is just an opportunity for you to make a statement, but in response to that, and of course, we have our superintendent back there, that it is our desire on any dirt road if it's county maintained, to put it ideally into that state so that from that point forward, the maintenance on it wouldn't be as severe. In other words, if you get it wide enough and you get the ditches pulled and everything, then, you know.
Well, from Mr. Scoggins' house, westward towards the senior center, there's not a single house on that road, and it's over half a mile. It's not a house on, and there's at least $25,000 or $30,000 worth of gravel on it. At the price I pay for a driveway in my house, I spent three loads, it cost me about $900. But that's not why I'm here. That's one reason I'm here too, is to understand why there's that much money spent to try to make a two-lane road out of a dirt road that's supposed to be really maintained. Most of them don't have that many houses on it, maintained as a one-lane road. And with the drop we've had, just a minimum amount of gravel and a little scraping every once in a while, and you don't need a whole lot of maintenance on it. The road that I'm concerned about is where my property is. It probably wouldn't take $600 worth of gravel a year. And if it had been scraped to where the water wouldn't stood in one place, probably wouldn't need any at all. But I don't think that the county would be on legal grounds to say that they've maintained a road for 30-some years and that it's not a county road. I don't think you would be, but.
Right. And in response to that particular road, Fowler Freeman Lane, I will tell you that not only did I speak with our road superintendent, but I actually went out there last week during the rain, and I admit that the where it comes off of the main road, Fowler Freeman Road or Drive, that it is a side-to-side, it's got potholes all the way across it. Once you get past that now, not a whole lot wrong with it.
No, it's not. It's not. It goes down to a little cul-de-sac. Bus comes through, bus comes down, turns around. If it wasn't for the fact that the water stood on the road there during the rainy season, there probably wouldn't be anything needed to be done to it. And I'm not asking that it be maintained in such fashion. In fact, I don't want that much gravel on it.
it gets all out in the yard when I cut the grass on the property and all, it creates a problem, and there's no need of it. I respectfully disagree with, the method that's being used to maintain the dirt road, because it will cost the county a fortune, and it's not necessary, because there's roads like Wagner Road, Church Road, David's Old Home, Mill Road, up for AC Carey, Red Dobbs, and all areas of the county that's miles and miles of dirt road with very few residences on it, so it's not necessary to do that when you maintain it, by no means. But I just wanted to speak to the board about that a little bit tonight, and I won't keep you any further, and thank you for your time, and I would like to ask the board that they consider overturning the decision, because I don't think it's any legal ground that you'd have to stand on due to the fact that it's been done starting the 33rd year. I know it's been 30.
It's a private road on this one.
Well, it is. I mean, and again, I spoke with Ms. Madden on that, and I understand, and I think the issue here is prescriptive easement after so many years. And so as I kind of mentioned to you, there are things that we can do and things that we should be doing as it pertains to a road that's been maintained for that many years. As we go forward, and as I mentioned to you, in 2006, then Chairman Wesley Nash actually signed a board decision on the criteria moving forward at that point. So I'm trying to find that place where we can operate that keeps us honest, keeps us legal, and you've got to be the first person I'm just going to share with you that has said that you don't want that much gravel, because the only request we get is for people that we're not, or that complain is that there's not enough gravel being put out on them. So, but I take your comment, and I understand what you're saying.
Well, I appreciate it, and thank you a lot, and appreciate your time, and thank you for your service. Good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Is it okay if I stand here?
It sure is.
Okay.
Can you see that light good, Natalie? I'm just kidding.
Short, quick as I can. This is, I just want to hand y'all this, and if y'all can just pass it down. I'm not a speaker, so I'm gonna just read. I hope y'all don't mind. My name is Natalie Sanford. I run the sandbar in Elbert County. We've been in business for 20 years, and I've been working at the sandbar for the last 14 years. I came before you asking that you change the watercraft ordinance on Broad River. Living on the river most of my life, I understand the landowner's concerns. I've been floating the Broad River for 43 years, since I was 5 years old. My family's home for 49 years has the North Fork Broad in the front, in the backyard, and the Middle Fork Broad in the front. My family's fire protection business has the Middle Fork running behind it. I live in a cabin on the river that my dad built 38 years ago. I see the river, just like Daniel from Slowwater does every day when I walk out my front door. We want everyone to enjoy the river and love it as we do, but we need a cooler to do that. This is the coolers that I've been using for years. And most of my coolers, my customers use this cooler. And my father, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say that. This is just land that my dad owns on the Broad River, if y'all want to look at that. The ordinance has already hurt my business, and I'm not even open for the season. I've had numerous calls and messages asking me if they could take a cooler. After I tell them about the ordinance, they tell me that they're not coming if they can't take a cooler. And this is the same from the other outfitters too. Will you put yourself in my position and understand how you would feel if you and your staff had worked so hard
for the past 14 years to make a successful business, and now because of the select landowners who knew that there were outfitters on the Broad River before they purchased the land, is ruining it for us. Also, our tax dollars do go to Elbert County, but the majority of our customers come through Madison County to get here, from Commerce to through Hull, through Foley, through Danielsville, spending money along the way to and from at gas stations, restaurants, Dollar General, grocery stores. And I just have, this is just a list, and this is just from Facebook, and it tells where everybody's from and what, I mean, you can tell the people from Athens, they all have to come through Madison County to get to us. And these are the questions that I want to ask you. I don't expect y'all to answer me tonight, but if you could get back to me, I would appreciate it.
Let me just ask you, well, I was going to suggest if you have that, and if you'd like to, we can copy and I can make them available, if that would be your desire to.
I have them.
Okay. And that way, if you want to pass those out.
Okay. And this is just a list of things that we are, we've come together and agreed, you know, if y'all would pass this ordinance or amend this ordinance for us, this is...
Should we take one with us?
Yes, sir.
Take one and pass it.
Yes, sir. We've agreed that we would buy mesh bags for all our kayaks and for our customers to put trash in. We've agreed to do an instructional video to educate our customers. We're going to put up signs with our new rules. We've agreed to put a sticker on our boat that reads, "Any trespassing on private land is illegal and should be avoided at all costs." Schedule river cleanup, number our kayaks, so landowners can call us and the sheriff's department if they have a problem with one of our paddlers. We'll put donation stations for our local fire departments and EMS. And additional release language regarding trespassing, litter, and nudity. We're going to give rewards to our customers for picking up the most trash, and we're not going to allow loose items on the kayaks. And y'all can have one of those too. And I'm not going to read this, but this is just some of the things that we do for the community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
I can answer that first question if you want me to answer it. Okay, no problem.
All right, man.
I'm waiting for my green light. Oh, there we go. Okay, my name is Ruth Ann Tisanovich, and I live on Highway 172, and have been a resident of Madison County for 35 years. I want to thank you that I hear you're paving my road just now, so I'm really thankful for that, and I just hope that it doesn't encourage the cars to go faster, but that's not why I'm here to speak. I want to speak about the ordinance regulating watercraft for hire on the Broad Madison River. I'm 66, and I have enjoyed kayaking on the Broad River for a number of years. My daughter and I traditionally take an annual kayak trip every Mother's Day. We like to do both sections of the river and may spend 4 to 6 hours floating, enjoying nature and the mountain laurel, which is usually in full glorious bloom at that time. We each pack small locking coolers containing our lunches, beverages, and belongings, which we lash to our boats. We even pick up litter if we see it. We are good river stewards. This new ordinance is too restrictive for me. On hot days, a person needs 16 to 32 ounces of water per hour, so 2 liters, that's 67 ounces. That's only enough for 2 hours. Without a small cooler,
There is no way even to take food or have any way to contain my belongings and prevent them from going in the river. You know, I put things like my sunglasses in it. If I'm going over rapids, I put my water bottle in the cooler so I don't lose it. And then, you know, I might get it back out after I'm through the rapids. I am sad that this annual excursion with my daughter may end because of these rigid restrictions. My understanding is that the new ordinance is to cut down on heavy drinking, misbehaving, and littering on the river. I feel that the ordinance goes too far. It punishes all river users for what a few people are guilty of. Following are some quotes that I read in the Madison County Journal prior to the ordinance being passed. Mike Haynes was quoted as saying, "We just need to find a way to share the river. It's a problem that needs fixing. We'd like you to help us fix it." Tripp Strickland was quoted as saying, "Something needs to be done. I think the two groups need to get together and see where they can find some common ground." In my opinion, this new ordinance does not find common ground, nor does it provide a way to share the river. It discourages law-abiding people, including families, children, church groups, and others from using the public natural resource. It's just too limiting. Also, the ordinance is hurting the business of the outfitter companies. Some may pay taxes to our county. They provide services that bring people to our county who spend money. The outfitters also provide employment opportunities for young people in our county. Their business is their livelihood, and the ordinance may drive them out of business. It's not fair. I know the outfitters have an alternate ordinance, a proposal. I've read it. It has some really good provisions, such as limiting the size of a cooler so you can't fill it with, you know, huge quantities of beer, like a small cooler like this Natalie just showed us. They want to number the watercraft so any violators can be identified, reported, and punished. So I want to urge the commissioners to at least read and consider their alternate proposal and try to reach a solution that finds common ground and allows landowners, businesses, and the general public to all share this wonderful natural resource. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Michael Moody, and I live in Carlton, Georgia, or close to it. Well, I've listened to these talks before me. They've said most everything I want to say for the most part. But I would just want to restate the fact that the county has an awesome resource, and it's not their own resource, it's a state resource, and we'd like to share it with everybody. Outfitters supply a service to the community. Most everybody I know who owns a boat started out by renting a boat. And so by making this restriction on commercial outfitters is pretty much killing their business. And we will go out of business. And as you know, there's no public access to the river except through the outfitters. And that would include all the people that are complaining about the litter also would have no access. Now, some of them might have some property on the river, but that's their property. Where they're going to take out or where they're going to put in. Somebody else's property? Well, that would mean you have a little community of rich landowners owning the river. And if you think that's fair to the citizens of your county, then you're really stepping over the top to me. This is a community resource, and you are trying to restrict the community's access to that resource. Now, we are more than willing to work with somebody, but it has to be a two-way street. We want to compromise. The rules that were put in this ordinance was slammed down through, and now they don't want to compromise because why should they? They've already got their ordinance. So we're put in a really bad position, and the county is going to go along with it, it seems. So it's my opinion, please, to look over that ordinance, and if you have any suggestions, please let us know. We've asked, and nobody will come up and say, oh, well, if you'll do this or that. So that's the real problem. Tripp organized with Lee to have a conference with these folks. No compromise whatsoever. So that's the compromise we're going to end up with, is no compromise. So I'm hoping that Tripp can encourage some of these people to come on board, and you all too, so that we can come up with a solution that makes everybody happy, As you can hear, we're more than willing to help clean up. We hate the litter. We worked on it for years to try to keep it down. So we're willing to work with people, but we can't do it by ourselves, and you guys have to make some good decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other takers?
Hi, my name is Christy Moody. I'm the wife of Michael Moody, and I just felt that I would like to share with you my experience of watching Michael over the last 44 years, working very hard to prevent pollution on the Broad River, to educate people about the value of that resource, of keeping it clean, in even larger ways than just throwing their trash. But he also has worked very hard to educate his customers about not trespassing on private property and about using the coolers that he provides that lock, that keep their trash out of the river. He has also worked to try to keep groups, like sometimes the fraternities, from having drunken bashes on the river. So I just really wanted to speak up for him and for the mission that he's had with his business and for his willingness to work very hard to compromise and improve conditions on the Broad River as far as the paddlers and their trash. And I appreciate you listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody? Anybody? Okay. We're gonna move on then.
That was,
Did you folks, did you come to make a statement or speak tonight?
We did, but we couldn't find you for the last hour.
Well, you know what, you're right at a good time. If there's something you'd like to address, you're welcome to take the podium to speak, whatever suits
Okay, you
you.
could go ahead and talk now.
okay. Let me brief Jim Pallas.
Jim Pallas.
Dr. Jim Pallas. Dr. Jim Pallas, that's right. I may have to sit down because the legs aren't holding me anymore. Fortunately or unfortunately, I served World War II at the end. There's still a few of us left, all the way to the war with South Korea. On crew 29s, I lost my crew at the beginning of the South Korean War. We had a plane accident. Fortunately, I let my friend go, and I lost my 8 companions, but that was me back then. So I'm the fellow that ends up in the paper once in a while. Fortunately, I used my GI Bill, went all the way through, and they said, University of California, summa cum laude, the top of the class. And they said, you gotta stay for a PhD, which I did. And 5 years later, I got a PhD in plant physiology. My field is soil, water, and air. And that's what I worked on. I came to the university in 1958 as associate professor in the School of Forestry. I came because the request was sent out for me to come. They wanted to institute weed control, herbicides, and that was my field. But actually, I went through school with an AEC grant. So anyway, I got here, and it wasn't quite what I expected. And Uncle Sam said, come on back, and the university said, no, don't go away.
you got grad students, was a deal, would you? So you just stay on the faculty, and you go out there, and Uncle Sam will pay you, which was what happened. I have 160 publications on soil, water, and air. I instituted the process, which has been widely used now, first publication on weed, on the minimum tillage. Anybody here, raise your hand if you've heard minimum tillage. It's being used quite a bit in the South. I turned it over because my idea was to be on the end of an electron microscope or in something really deep. And so that's where I came now. I went over to Southern Piedmont, which is no longer around. And through my publication record and through my distaste for people who try to control you, I reached GS 15, so that's my background. Now, here's the problem I see. As I wrote in the paper several months ago, or at least several months, the institution of the power operation is it's going to be a terrible situation. First, because the way it's written in the paper, there will be accumulation of ash. Ash is one of the worst things you want to handle. Where's it going? I don't think we have facilities. And by the way, I'm very happy to be in Madison County. It's a very strong conservative operation. Thank you for allowing me to come. But I live here. In fact, credentials, we have 50 or 60 acres on Spratton Mill Road, but we also, with my two sons, own about 2,000 acres of forestry. Randy is my second oldest son. He's a cardiologist, retired from running cardiology for Georgetown University. My other son, James, was inspecting general for the Air Force. He took my place in a way, is retired. My grandson just came back from Iran, and he is a major in the Air Force. So, and my great-great-granddad fought in the Revolutionary War. So that's one of the reasons I'm here. But the main reason is, first, ash. Now, secondly, and I think probably the more important thing is that I'm sure many of you know and see the trucks going by. So, about 5 years ago, 100 of my acres I attempted to sell. And lo and behold, what I got, because when we bought it in 2005, the two boys and myself, I had it assayed. And at that time, things like chip and saw were worth $23 a ton. The going price today is 10. I just use these figures because a lot of people don't realize when you see those trucks going by, they're not buying my wood for plywood. Much of my forest is 33 years old, should qualify. They're not buying my logs that they set aside and said we'll use these for REA and other purposes as poles, because we're using plastic or we're using metal materials now. So I'm left with a dilemma. But I don't know how many of you subscribe to the Athens Banner Herald. But the competition is coming in that two major companies will now locate in Georgia. One of them has started in Warrington, the other is putting a plant in Washington, not very far from here, not very far from the stuff that I need to move, or would hope to move. Age has a problem, sometimes it makes things not work that used to work. I'll be 90 next week. Seems like a long time. Georgia Pacific has announced the construction of a $135 million dimensional lumber mill in Warrington. GP Camper from Canada will build a large facility and begin construction, probably started already, in Washington near Athens in Georgia. Now, this is kind of like the savior to some of us that are hoping the prices will stabilize and have some woods. I see this power plant as becoming a competitor. They want to deal with, well, as they call it, scrubs, and of course they're not going to be picking it up themselves or anything like that. There's not much left by the time they harvest a tree, if they harvest the whole thing. So, the other thing that worries me is they cannot produce what they are talking about producing without a fair amount of sulfurs and nitrites. And I used to work in California on subjects like that when it was a real big problem to our communities. So they're soft soap in that aspect. They claim there might be a cloud over the Utah. But even worse than that is, and up to this point, because I happened to read the Madison Journal, and ADA was supposed to come in for, are some of you members of ADA? To ask for a few million to back up their plans. In what I read, it said that the lawyers that were working with them had everything under command, but let me tell you, there's nothing like bankruptcy, because I've seen it on the right, I've seen it on the left. And once something goes into bankruptcy, you don't have anything written in paper that'll ever stand up. You'll end up being diluted with whatever's left, if there's anything left. And sometimes, because of the kind of negotiations you make, you're responsible for some of that stuff that was spent by somebody else. So that's the American way we go nowadays. I worry from the standpoint of every hour something like, I forget, 80 trucks. Got a large population of large trucks. And because Georgia's so lenient, we don't have any pollution control on diesel. It's one of the worst that you can face. Many of the major states have control over it, and therefore those kind of trucks do not run without some way of having to take out those pollutants. The second is that the number of trucks is going into a small community, and that's why I wrote the first time, to try to stir a little bit of interest in what was happening to our county. I'll be glad to try to answer any questions. I think that was my three major. But right now, I look at it as a kind of a competitor to those of us who have been without service because nobody's harvesting our woods. And we have a chance now that we will have somebody. We'll have a couple of big companies. So that's why I say that I think putting out large sums of money is like betting on a dark horse. He may come and he may lose. If he does, you lose our money.
Well, I certainly thank you for your time.
I'd be open to questions, but for the moment, I was hoping maybe we had one of these that be carried around or something.
Well, what I would suggest, if it's suitable.
I'll have to have my wife, I'm sorry, but I lost over Germany.
Yeah.
At 33,000 feet, I lost most of my hearing. When we had on my plane, one of the windows busted. We had instantaneous decompression, so,
Heading that way.
Betty, you wanna say something, be my interpreter?
No, he was saying something.
Excuse me?
He was saying something.
I was just gonna offer for, just to let you know, again, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your, the experience, certainly, not just to our country, but, the academia, what you bring for, the reminder of our natural resources, but what I was gonna suggest is rather than what we may choose to do here, if it's all right, is give, we may conclude our meeting and give anybody who has not, who would like to actually approach him. Would that be okay to talk with him? Okay. And that way we'll give him a chance to take a seat as well, so, all right. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Okay. Any need for executive session? Okay. Do I have a motion? I have a motion to adjourn. Second. Second. Any discussion, Commissioner Pest?
Yes.
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 And if Dr. Powers would, if we want to take any questions, I'm sure, we won't keep you long.